What other campaigns did you work on from a brand perspective? You did these billboard campaigns. What other things were memorable at ClickUp?
We did a very large campaign around the idea of returning to office called Returning to Work, where we created like 15 different scenario skits where it was like coworker interactions, and like what that would be in the way like in the world of RTO. And we were just like, hey, how do we capitalize on a moment unified in time that may never happen again, where every single person is talking about work collectively in the same way and can relate to the same things happening. So yeah, we created a whole video campaign. We used them as performance ads. We highlighted different roles within the company and how what they would be dealing with. And yeah, it was great. It worked really well. Ran a lot of like kind of different cuts of it on different channels, and we got picked up a lot of different places as well.
You also did a Super Bowl ad, I think, too. What was that like?
That was hard. That was hard. Very rewarding and very cool to do that and be able to have that experience, but that is very challenging from like every single aspect. I mean, we did it strategically. We didn't spend probably what every other company spent. So, like there's ways to optimize your spend there. But I think the hardest thing, and I say this all the time, is everyone has an opinion on the Super Bowl ad. Everyone. And there were people that would come and be like, yeah, I texted my friend and he hated the ad. Like, great. Like, what do you want me to do about that? And it worked really well. I mean, people loved it. The sentiment was like 99% positive. People like really, it resonated with them. They thought it was very clever, creative. It got our product across. It got our brand across. It was memorable. It had a framework which people understood it. But yeah, you get a lot of those like one-off Slack messages. We did a lot of testing too. We did a ton of like user testing where we tested we actually filmed two different ads for the Super Bowl. We tested them against each other to pick the winner. One of them ran as an Olympics ad, and then one of them was our hero spot for the Super Bowl. But yeah, it's hard. Opinions are the most challenging thing because everyone can have an opinion on marketing.
And I think one opinion that really matters is like the CEO and Zeb. And I'm curious, like, what was your relationship like with him with these different campaigns? Was he super involved and like wanted to control the message? I assume there's a lot of managing up. In my experience doing this type of stuff, that was definitely the
Yeah,
case. Yeah.
he was heavily involved in every single piece of creative that went out the door, at least to start too. And he was heavily involved in this. And sure, you can, if you ever interview him, you can ask him about the dancing twerking duck one day.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, I mean, it was like definitely a creative process that he was heavily involved in, and he liked the ad. And we had tested a bunch of other kind of through history ideas. We did a big campaign around whiteboards with cavemen, and we liked the idea of inserting ClickUp in history. People already sort of knew and could easily like that. That was sort of our first piece. It was like, how do we create something that we can insert ourselves in that people already have a mental framework around, whether it's a time period, whether it's a historical event, and that sort of eases up psychologically like how you can connect with the ad itself because you're not spending time doing gymnastics trying to figure out what you're looking at, and that was a big part of like how we thought about kind of everything we created at ClickUp. It's like where can we have the least pressure applied to the connection to start.
And were you doing this all in house? Like, was it all people who worked at ClickUp? Did you rely on agencies? How did you think about kind of building the brand team?
No, I don't believe in hiring external agencies, at least for creative. I think that team like needs to be very, very embedded within the brand and the framework, and have been working with the CEO for a long time to have that trust and gain that trust. And yeah, we built the whole team in house. A lot of people actually from BuzzFeed that I hired that were people that understood people and human interactions and why things resonate. And they were certainly the core of like a lot of the creative we built. Like having that team was a secret weapon, absolutely.
What does like a brand team look like? Is it creative director, copywriter, design? Like, can you like, yeah, what does it look like sort of at the beginning, maybe for early stage companies, and then
Yeah,
as it scales?
at the beginning it was very, very small. It was I believe we had a few copywriters, motion graphics designer, a no creative director. We had like brand manager or creative designer. And then we expanded and we hired video people and we hired more creative writers. more, what else did we hire? Social folks, like, then it kind of expands to like, how do we think about channels? How do we think about brand distribution? How do we think about like what we actually need in house to like turn this into a machine? And then we scale for that.
Very cool. And I find like most B2B founders, especially if they have a technical background, are like scared to invest in brand. It's like this mystical thing that they sort of don't know what to do there. And then I always try and say, it's like, well, this is actually probably where most of your growth is going to come from. But they always
Yeah.
just want to dump money into like AdWords where you could track it. You could track your bad results at AdWords is like what I like to say.